All right. Good day. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So today I'm bringing on a new guest co-host, as I always am, since 2016. And here in 2025, we'll be hitting 500 shows. I tried hitting that last year, but we just got busy. So that being said, I'm actually bringing on a gentleman that I'm excited to connect with because I already connected with him. And it was through this fun little world of online communities, if you will. And we'll talk more about what that is, because obviously as a man, I am very adamant about supporting my fellow men. And you might get a little masculinity, you might get a little intelligence discussions around these subjects in this show. But today's guest co-host, he's part of that theme we're going to hit on here. He's founder, he's a futurist, multifaceted business leader, if you will. A lot of people nowadays are solopreneurs, and multipreneurs is a new one that I heard recently. But he is a true example of an influencer. I enjoyed being in this community that I'm going to talk about here. I think it's back in mid 2023. Just popped in to check it out, and then I just got busy. So this guy does know how to build communities. He's definitely an experienced host, and I mean everywhere from, we're talking like digital Hollywood, internet world, LA Games Conference. He's spoken, he's been around the block, and I'm excited to finally reconnect with him in a much deeper way because that's why he's the guest co-host today. And before I chat with him in a second, we're actually going to screen share and bring on a little intro clip because they've been busy since I last tapped into this manly community. And it's actually called Metal, which I've actually name dropped on this show while I was in that said community. And you're going to have fun with this because this is on the site. It'll all be linked in the show notes. But I just want to make sure you guys get a fun little intro. And then our man today will jump in for a second and we're going to have some fun. So stand by here and we're going to have some fun here. Let's make sure that sound's enabled. Here we go. This is fun. It's something I'll do in intros.
Metal's a great example of an antidote.
Because of the community.
It's kind of a gold mine just by talking to the person to your left.
Life is about relationships.
You value an organization based on how it enriches your life.
You put those two guys together in the spirit of co-elevation, and guess what? The entire organization is built on co-elevation.
You need backs to chase. You need people out there high performing that you admire.
In a group that you can bounce back ideas and information on so you don't have to work in a vacuum.
Sometimes it's the guys right in here that I say, hey, how'd you like to be CEO of this company?
I'm a futurist. I like being a futurist in future-oriented conversations.
There's academics, there's scientists, there's musicians, there's entrepreneurs, but that isn't the focal point.
This group is constantly in search of truths or betterment, and that's a form of curiosity that's rare.
Civilization means the act of becoming civil, and you do it when you depend on each other.
Honestly, is what makes what Ken has created with Metal so special, is that it's a place for that to be nurtured.
The men who participate in this are great guys.
There's no excuse. Like, everybody needs something like this.
It's irreplaceable, this brotherhood, and it means, it's a family.
A family that you didn't even know you needed.
My third family's metal, for sure.
Am I a better person because I've been in metal? Absolutely.
Metal's a very unique and special one. I don't know anything else like it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to finish the rest of that intro because that was Metal. That was the manly group, if you will, that I was in. And I want to kind of clarify and expand upon the bio that I was actually doing because I held off on purpose. The first part of that intro was for I will say the part of the teamwork here, right? So Ken Rakowski, he's actually the founder of METAL.MEN. Today, because I didn't know until today, I actually considered this gentleman the other co-founder. So I just call everybody founders. I call myself a founder with all my organizations. So today's guest co-host is actually, as I was originally going to call the co-founder, but technically he's partner, he's CEO, he's a veteran, he's a startup entrepreneur as well. He's an inventor, he's an artist. And this gentleman, Will Henshall, sir, I'm honored to bring on the show today. Love the new intro video. Let's dig in because I don't want to burn any more time.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. What a great introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, again, great intro video. Whoever your team is, they're doing a great
Yeah.
job. 2 minutes or less, unfortunately, because everybody's got a short attention span.
Yeah. It's done by Fernando Castro, who's a metal guy.
Of course. Because that's the power of community, right? You find all these connections. I didn't realize the founder of Atari was in there until I watched it.
Yeah, that's Nolan Bushnell. He's every week he's in our
He's still
fantastic.
Around. I mean,
he's in his early 80s. He's still sharp as a tack and brilliant.
He's young. Well, how old's the Prince?
Prince, I believe, is 82. You're talking about Prince Stash.
Yeah, Stash. Yeah. I just call him Prince, but yeah.
Prince Stash.
I remember.
Yeah.
So, and admittedly, like just for the listeners out there, it's not like I left and wasn't willing to be in the group. It's just literally, I forget how I got connected. I was looking for, and you'll appreciate this one, I was looking for that next step of community engagement, seeing where I'm meant to go in my life. And then I was also been like, oh, maybe I start my own thing. And like everybody's trying to start things nowadays. And I was like, let me pop into a community the next time I pop, because I've been in mastermind groups, right? You guys could have called it that. I like that you didn't. There's too many mastermind groups. And let's figure this out. So I was in there for whatever the trial period was. But then I started traveling. I had a lot of conferences I was speaking and yada, yada, yada. So, and actually, I think I still get your emails. I think I'm still on your email list. So, and now it's 2025. I haven't lost that interest. I still think about you guys like every couple of months, but literally last week, as you and I are recording this, I was on vacation with my wife, heli skiing in Whistler, BC.
Right.
So I was kind of focused on helicopters and skiing in the back country.
Right. Yeah, METAL.MEN. That's who we are. That's the website. That's what we are. We're a men's group, inspiration, adventure, brotherhood. We're
so let's dig into
interesting group of guys.
Because I don't like to interview. You're the guest co-host, but I have to ask at least that question. Obviously, you were on. I remember like every Saturday for sure was the big interactive engagement. Still the same way? Yeah,
we do the flagship event, which is it's like, we think of it like as a TED for successful guys. Okay. And we have 2 or 3 guest speakers every week. It goes on 52 weeks a year, every Saturday morning, West Coast time.
The speed rounds, right? Like where it's like, it's that segue and we're just like connecting for about 5 minutes maybe or something like that? Yeah,
we do. We've really figured out over the last 5 years how to socially manage Zoom breakout rooms. That's the bottom line.
It's an adventure.
Oh, yeah. And it's not random. It's all highly organized. And so, as a guest or as anyone can come, and it's a men's group. So if you're a man, come to the METAL.MEN website. You can get a guest pass. You get 3 weeks membership in the whole system for no charge whatsoever.
Okay. I remember that.
Yeah. Come in and check it out.
And thank you. I thought that was a very fair, as a sales and marketing professional, it's like, that was very fair. And actually also, if I remember correctly, because it's been 1.5 years, I don't think the pricing in general was not unrealistic. You guys are actually keeping it approachable.
Yeah, it's we have 2 levels of membership, gold and platinum. Gold is $100 a month approximately. Platinum $250 a month. There's extra value in that. You have to go through a background check, and there's some other really specific business-driven kind of masterminds actually behind that. But for a gold member, $100 a month, nothing to lose. Check it out.
Fair. I can't remember. I thought you also had like an annual deal or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember, but the engagement for me was memorable. Like, this isn't a commercial. I'm just speaking because I was in there for 3 weeks.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
I will admit, and I'm sure you have other members, where I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I get busy on the weekends. So that was my first challenge. I was like, okay. Yeah. So if it's during the winter, I'm usually skiing. If it's during the spring and summer, I'm either on my road bike, on my mountain bike, or wielding chainsaws for fun in my woods out here, because I just love my woods. So,
we have quite a lot of guys who attend on a Saturday with something in their, like an earpiece in, and they're like doing whatever they're doing, listening to the session in the background.
Yes. So I did do that a couple times.
And it's, Ken Rakowski, who you mentioned earlier on, who's the founder of this. We're not a new organization. We've been going since 2001.
Has it been that long?
I joined in 2009, so I was a member for many, many years before I became Ken's partner in this new version of Metal. And we're a hybrid organization. We're both online. We have a Saturday show, and then we have about 35 midweek expert sessions. And they are run by experts within the community. So we've got very, very well attended AI community that happens on a Thursday. We have financial planning. We have real estate. We have some fitness, breathing.
Did you have AI a year and a half ago?
Oh, yeah.
I was say, because obviously it's gone crazy in the past couple of years.
Yeah, that's been around for a while. Yeah.
Okay.
One of our guys has been interested in AI and been working with AI for 15 years.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Before
why you created a breakout for that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, so fun part of your background and mention, right? How do you segue? I mean, obviously time will tell in people's careers, but how do you segue from like a UK band that happened to have a couple of hit songs to obviously now you're based here in the US, right?
Yeah.
Cali.
I'm in Culver City, yeah.
And then you become part of a manly group. I mean, there's a little bit of a backstory on that, brother. I mean,
you are dead right. So I'm obviously a Brit originally. I've been in the USA since 1983, so that's a long damn time now. I was a kid when I got here. My family are inventors. That's what they do. I come from a family of inventors. My dad's like a scientist, and my brother invents. So I come from this like creative field of like of guys, like. My dad was always like, there's a better mousetrap, and
I like him. I like him already.
Right. But I discovered at an early age that I have the gene that allows me to be able to write music. So yes, I was in a band called Londonbeat out of the UK. And in the early 90s, we had 5 big hits, a couple of really well-known songs here in the States. The one that everybody knows is I've Been Thinking About You, which is one of the most successful, most played songs in the world from the 90s. So if you're listening to any kind of 90s station, keep listening and they'll play, I've Been Thinking About You.
Well, and also, what's the old quote on that? Like they say things flip every 20 years. So
that's right.
Has it already made a comeback multiple times?
Oh, hell. Did you happen to see the Dexter prequel that's out right now?
Yeah, right? Like what's that all about already?
Set in Miami in 1991. And in episode 6, I've Been Thinking About You is featured in the episode. But it's not just in the background while they're at a nightclub. No, there's a part, and I hope I'm not. What do they call it when you explain a little bit of the plot? So I'm going to spoil the plot a little bit now. Dexter, as you probably remember, likes to murder bad people, and the guy who he's about to murder is taking a leak, singing "I've Been Thinking About You" outside a bar. Dexter comes up behind it. He's just singing it, and just on his own. Dexter comes up behind him and says, "I've been thinking about you too," and kills the dude.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, that's the best. That was the best thing I've ever had. It was fantastic.
Segue business into that. Are you getting licensing on this?
Oh, yeah.
This is even better.
So you asked me, how did I get to here? So to be a successful, I do 3 things, metal being the third thing. So the first thing, yes, I was a successful artist. I'm a songwriter. I was in Londonbeat. I was the founder. I was the main writer. And I was in a band with 3 amazing African-American soul singers who happened to live in the UK. So that was a very interesting time for me. I was in the band for 8 years. We sold a ton of records, got a lot of, I was the PRS BMI Songwriter of the Year in 1991. It was a fantastic time. But to be a successful artist, you got to be an entrepreneur, right? I'm also an inventor. So after I was in the band, I got really interested in digital recording technology. And you can see in the background here, I'm in a studio with a big mixing desk. And so...
Was that Rocket?
Rocket Network.
Okay.
Rocket Network developed track-based audio and video collaboration tools over a wide area network. We were the very first people to be doing this. We started in 94. I quit the band, did this in 94. And over the next, until 2009 years, we developed technology that became ultimately Avid Cloud Collaboration, which is DigiDesign's Pro Tools and the Avid stuff. And then we sold the company to Avid in 2003, and I did an exit there that was great. So guess what, though? To be a successful inventor, you got to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Of course you have.
The funny thing about, since even though I'm the host, I'm the co-host with you. Funny, weird thing about me was I was afraid of entrepreneurial stuff. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family and then chased corporate monkey dreams, like out of the 90s into the 2000s. Then decided to go back to school. Then decided the cubicle life sucked. It was my quote that I put in my book. And then went out west by you, and I served as an elite hotshot wildland firefighter with the U.S. Forest Service. So I turned into a militarized style firefighter for a couple of years to see what I wanted to do.
There's some structure for you.
Yeah. Right. So,
right.
And people wonder why I'm still fired up and crazy to this day. And I'm like, read the book. But that being said, that's sick and badass all at the same time, because I love hearing the flip and the switch of people's career growth, because you never know where your life is going to take you. And I'm also, and I think this is definitely a manly trait, if you will, that we could pass on to more people, which is the willingness. In order to succeed, you must be willing to fail. Right. In order to be willing to fail, we have to be willing to accept and also be honest and transparent, I feel, in admitting that failure and then talking through that. So I think that's a fundamental element probably of your community. Is the most successful people I've ever met, multi-millionaire, multi-billionaires, going to conferences, going to things like Tony Robbins and all these other things, is the most successful people I've ever heard. They're not talking about the last multi-million-dollar dealer. They're not talking about money. They're actually talking about, that one time I started up that product that fell flat in its face, or hey, here's a lesson I learned from this. And it's like, whoa, wow.
That's right.
They're not here to brag. There's no bragging. It's very interesting.
No, because part of the entrepreneurial process, it's always has been, always will be a roller coaster ride. Always. You're up. We're doing great. We're all going to die. Oh my God. Everybody's, oh no, it's okay. We're back again. So that kind of adrenaline thing goes on constantly. And one of the reasons why I moved to the US originally in the 80s was there's a can-do culture in American culture generally compared to British culture, where I'd grown up. And then when I got to California in the 90s, the can-do culture is even more like apparent. You can, if you have a good idea and you've got half a brain, you can get someone to fund you in California. Can do. I can do that.
Ergo Silicon Valley. I mean.
Right. And absolutely. So when I started Rocket Network, we ended up raising, this is the track-based audio collaboration system. We ended up raising about just under, I think, $43 million, something like that over time. Started it out of the UK, because that's where I'd been based, most of the time for the band era. Was able to raise a few million through, this was before the real internet thing had happened, before, Silicon Valley and the big, this was very early on.
I was working in it.
Right. Yeah. No, this was the mid 90s.
Oh, that's before .com. Yeah. So that's,
yeah. And then I met Paul Allen, as in Paul Allen. And I was introduced to him through a music business. I know Dave Stewart from Eurythmics pretty well. And Dave said, this track-based collaboration audio remote thing, he said, you should meet Paul Allen. And I was like, okay, that works. And he introduced me to Paul. Paul ended up putting $18 million into the company. And then that triggered Climeworth Benson and a few other people doing a big round. This was now in the late 90s, just as the .com first thing was just beginning to happen, so that was useful. But I got into Paul because I was a guitar player and because I'd had reasonable successes, well, actually really big success as an artist at the time. I tell you a mad story about this. Paul Allen was, bless him, he's not around obviously anymore, but he was renowned for being a strange fella. You were told if you were going to meet him, don't shake his hand. He's a bit of a germaphobe. Don't look him in the eye too much. If he doesn't like what you're doing, he'll just get up and leave. There's all these things that his guys tell you about him.
Like a whole checklist.
Yeah, you got to do all this stuff. And I'm like, all right. So I met him in 95, I think. And Londonbeat had just had our second US #1, and it was like a big time. And I've been on tour for 5 years, so I was playing guitar I was playing guitar pretty good. Yeah. And so Dave Stewart said to me, Paul is a really good guitar player. So when you meet him, we're demoing our audio recording studio tech. Make sure that you have a guitar for him. And then he said he really likes Hendrix. I was like, okay. So I went into the meeting to show our the Rocket Network technology, which is where we had a piano player in Cuba and a drummer in Ireland and a vocalist in South Africa. We had it all working. But when I went into the meeting, I'd organized 2 Marshall guitar amps. Now, I don't know if you've been around Marshall guitar amps.
I have. Oh, yes.
They're louder than hell. I mean, I'm talking about
Marshall knows how to build a stack. Let me just say.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And I'd said I'd brought my own. I've got a vintage Stratocaster, and I said to them, make sure that Paul has one of his vintage Stratocasters there, and it's plugged into his Marshall, turned up to 10, everything. And so I went in, set the tech up, and the amps were on standby, which means they're not making any noise. And they said, well, Paul's going to be over about 11, and you can show him what you're doing. And Dave Stewart said to me, when he comes in, make sure the amps are on 10, everything is really loud, and play Purple Haze. Or play a Hendrix switch. The Wind Cries Mary, bloom, bloom, bloom.
Oh,
right. So what I did was I saw him coming down the corridor, down the hallway. I went and put both amps up, and I played do 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 bow bow.
Before he's even in the room.
Classic, yeah. Before he's in the room, he walked straight in, picked up the other Strat, and mirrored what I did.
Nice.
And dude, it is loud. It's a it's a boardroom. And
you're talking about 2 lead guitar styles just ripping off. I mean,
yeah. And the guys are sitting there. It's incredibly loud. So then we just jam, me and him playing. The dude was an amazing guitar player, for real. I'm not bullshitting at all. Paul could really play well. A very, very competent guitar player. So we jammed for about 10 minutes, and the guys were sitting in there with their hands over their ears, just with their eyes ordering for the volume. And then Paul puts the guitar down. We put the amps on standby, and there's sort of dead silence. And without even thinking, I went up and I hugged him and I said, damn, brother, you can play. And he goes, thank you.
Didn't pull back?
No, not at all. No, he hugged me back.
None of that? Yeah.
No. It's the fact the Duke could play. Yeah, the Duke could play.
Connected.
I mean, you can't fake that stuff. He could play. And that was a wonderful introduction to him understanding, where I was coming from as a tech inventor. And I walked out with a couple of $1 million the next day on a note.
I love where you're going with that, because I tell people all the time, when I was like an entry-level salesperson, I spent time in the telecom space, the IT space, yada, yada, yada. This is before firefighting. My head was up my butt. I thought you gotta overly tune. You gotta overly sell yourself. And then when you get, maybe my wife is right, maybe I got older. And like, dude, just be yourself. And I mean, just last year, I closed some of my biggest business deals for my client yet. Oh, I do a lot of, she's heavily in the HVAC space. So everybody wants hot air in the, winter and cold air in the summer. It's pretty much a bulletproof industry. And it's multi-million, $billion level stuff. Anyway, some of the biggest deals I closed for her company, for her factories that she works with, I take people out to a steak dinner. And it's not because I'm trying to wine and dine. Like, we're just hanging out talking guy stuff. Like, we're not even talking business. When I go into the guy's office, probably the first 20 minutes has nothing to do with anything. We're just catching up, rebuilding the relationship, right? Reconnecting, reminding that we're human beings.
Right.
And then, oh, by the way, here's a $500,000 order, or hey, here, we're going to give you the next 1.5 million over the next 6 months. It's like, cool. Thanks.
Right.
What do you want me to send your wife? Because I have like notes, I know wives, girlfriends, whatever, their favorite pastimes. Are they in AA? Did they quit smoking? Are they trying to open up a new health and wellness phase of their life? That's who these people are. Yeah, the business will come. Yeah, so I love that, because like, you just want to go play a guitar with the guy and just see what would happen next.
Yeah. I mean, thank goodness the guy could play. Otherwise, I would have been. But that wasn't authentic. If he couldn't play it, none of that would have happened like that.
Yeah. But also, if he couldn't play, he probably wouldn't have stepped up and grabbed that guitar.
Yeah, because I was shredding it. It was okay, and it was the connection. You just said something that's interesting to us, that in the METAL.MEN group, guys come to us often looking for help with something.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for help with, career advice, or you've hit a plateau in what you're doing, or you want to, you want to find out what's next.
Yes.
You're just looking for something, right? But guys that stick around stay for the brotherhood. And that is what you're talking about, the human connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so being in a space where meeting guys who are very similar to the way you look at things, but from many different backgrounds.
Well, because that's what I got out of your group is, and what I think the ones that are built to last, which clearly you've just been around a little while now too. Obviously you guys are going through growth and technology advancements and everything else, but there's leadership, right? Which I truly believe in that. I mean, I have tattooed on my ribs after firefighting, our motto was duty, respect, and integrity.
Right.
From that flipped my switch into figuring out how to become an entrepreneur, how to work for myself so I can work for others, right? It's not a selfish thing. It's like, how can I make myself a better person to give back to the people I work with or work for, right? It's service providing, et cetera. But the other components are, excellence and brotherhood, right? Like obviously I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I'm always pushing for excellence, sometimes to a fault. But that's the cool thing about community. When you find the right group, the right community, the brotherhood or the sisterhood or whatever the other groups that are out there.
Right.
That's the problem with men. We suck at it. I have no problem saying this. Women are so much better. My wife, she's got all kinds of different groups and she's not a social person. She's a doctor of equine medicine for horses and doctor of chiropractic therapy. So she's a very smart cookie but loves getting together with her girlfriends, but is afraid of confrontations, not overly social, but still has her girl circles. So they naturally are better at it. They can talk about all the crazy things, guys. We're all locked down.
That's true.
We're all locked down.
That's true. And what happens as guys when we get into our sort of mid-late 40s is you find it very difficult to meet other guys who are not in your direct professional group. So if you're a physician, you'll know tons of physicians and quite a few lawyers. Those two go together.
Yeah, professional circles are easy. Yeah.
Right. And when I joined Metal in 2009, end of 2009, 2010, I suddenly met 150 guys who I connected with out of the many hundreds who are in the group, but about 150 in total I became close to, got to know from many, many different backgrounds. So I knew guys who worked in space, in medicine, in computers, in film finance, in acting, and it was. I
did notice you have a lot of not Hollywood, but acting and music, or definitely a couple of common threads in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We have some really well-known, very well-known guys in the group, and writers. Chris Voss is a regular member. As in, never split the difference. Nolan Bushnell, you talked about earlier on, the founder of Atari, right? Kenny Aronoff is an interesting guy because people don't know who's Kenny Aronoff. He is the number one rock drummer in the world. He's played on hundreds and hundreds of
who's
records.
The other one that people claim is the number one? Then it's not. So I guess people are wrong then because I'm going to have to look that up.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you would know. You're from music,
within the rock genre, Kenny Aronoff is the guy. He's an extraordinary fella, and he's regularly in. He's a funny dude too. He's on tour with Steve Vai at the moment. I think. I'm
thinking of another drummer who actually started, no joke, his own drummer coaching community because he was one of the top. Maybe he's just one of the top drummers in the world.
Right.
Because he realized that people needed. Again, like you were just hinting about age, it's not just struggling to find people, and this is a big part of my niche, my newer show format when I close a show out, which you'll help us do later today, is that I'm calling it legacy.
Oh yeah.
That's why I started a charity when I launched my book and everything else. I'm like, okay, I can make money.
Right.
That's fine. I got that. And I'll be 48 this year. So I'm not at 50 yet. So, but it's like, I might have a lot of white hair, but that's from the firefighting. But it's, what are you passing on? What are you giving back along your journey? And I find if we free up the bandwidth to give back, it actually advances us in life and career and everything else. And I think well, I don't think I was in there for 3 weeks. I saw a lot of that. I actually, again, not an ad. I'm just saying I was impressed by the people that I briefly got to engage with.
Most of our guys, Scott, are a sort of age-wise sort of mid-late 30s upwards. But we have a critical and core group of guys who are over 70, and they are the elders. And when you hit 70 and you've been a metal man for a couple of years, you don't have to pay us any more than $1 a year. Just tell us what you want to pay. So we sponsor, so we are not ageist. And some of our most brilliant men are well over that. I mean, we mentioned Prince Stash. If anybody's interested in Prince Stash, I'm sure you'll do a link. He's the real Prince Stash on Instagram and a whole bunch of other things. He's a fascinating fella. He is a prince, a real one. He has a castle that he lives in Spain. In Italy. He has another castle that he lives in Switzerland, and then he's got a lovely beachside property.
I mean, it's a good problem to have.
But he was also a guitarist and played with the Beatles and the Stones and hung out around. His rock and roll stories are insane, and he's a regular guy in the group, and you get to know him. Terry Tillman is an interesting character. He's another metal man, and he's the coach's coach. He's well into his 80s, and he's very humble about what he does, and his life experiences are phenomenal. And just spending 15 minutes with Terry, either online or meeting him, but he lives in LA, so we do a hike every Sunday.
I know you guys have an LA group.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, just 15 minutes with Terry can really straighten you out, because he'll be like, you said, how's it going? And you say a few things, and he goes, yeah, have you thought about that? And I'm like, no.
Well, a lot of people talk about. I have a few friends. They do some local, nonprofit work and stuff here in Pennsylvania, and they hint about a lot of people talk about war. So obviously, going back to people who are still surviving World War I, World War II, they say, go sit down with those people, men, women of all ages. Obviously, getting up there in age, they just want to talk. And they've got stories, and they're happy to share. But like adventures, but also just life lessons. So from a different generation.
Absolutely. We have one golden rule and sort of an adjacent rule too in metal, that we don't talk politics in a group. It's not because right. It's not because
politics. I don't talk religion.
But me and you both, we don't do that in the group.
Don't want to do
it. Always develops, and so we don't do that. So metal becomes a safe space where you meet other guys. You have no idea what the politics are, and it doesn't matter, because it's actually in terms of the priority of things that are in life, it's really not an important thing that you can change, and so it means you get to know guys real well.
Yeah.
Maybe I could bring up a really interesting project that we did a couple of years ago, which is the book that we've got.
Oh, the masculine intelligence.
Yeah, masculine intelligence.
I want to, because I have that on your hot sheet, and you guys used to have it publicly on the site, but you said that's now included with when people join up, right?
Yeah. When you sign up, you get a copy of it. What this came out of a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's not masculinity, it's masculine.
Yeah, masculine.
And by the way, we're a men's group because men are better men in the rest of the world as partners, as husbands, as brothers, as family members, as guys in the community, when we are regularly in contact with other heart-centered, successful men. And that is what Metal Men is all about. So Ken and I started talking about 3 years ago now with what do the Metal Men have in common? What do we sure we've got stuff in common. What are those things? So we started a really involved project. We interviewed, we talked, we focus groups, we did one-on-ones with about 450 of the metal guys. And we wanted to get to this. What do we have? What are the principles that we have in common? And if I can, I'll go through them quickly and talk to you about
absolutely.
Them, these are not in order specifically, but if you are a successful man, these will resonate with you, I think. And if you are a successful human, and you're not a man, you'll find that these will also resonate with you. So, right, the first thing is curiosity. We are all curious. So for instance, if you get on a plane and they say, you know, put your phone away or whatever, there's going to be, you know, the in-flight magazine. I imagine, like you and me, you'll be just pick it up and just come through it.
Has it changed? Has it changed?
Right. What's going on?
I still pick up the exit instructions.
You're curious, right?
Well, I'm also a self-preservation. You know, it's like,
that's all a good thing.
I don't know this model jet. Let me just double check anything different.
Where's the nearest exit? Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
It may be behind you, right? So curiosity is a key piece. And in the book, the Masculine Intelligence book, Nolan Bushnell is one of the 8 guys that we talk to, that his interview is a chapter he's in a lot. And he says that his success in starting Atari, which is literally inventing the video game, and then Chuck E. Cheese, you think, why the hell Chuck E. Cheese is a kids restaurant?
Wait, he did Chuck E. Cheese?
Oh yeah.
I never knew that.
He started Chuck E. Cheese, and you know why? Because that's how you get kids to play video games. A genius combination. I mean, talk about thinking out of the box.
I never went to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, my kid was exactly the wrong age.
I was raised on the farm. So I got to learn how to shovel a lot of manure.
Terrible pizza, but keeps the kids quiet.
Yeah.
The second principle is creativity. So as a successful human, as a successful man, you have to be creative. So here's a potential scenario. You're on a plane, you open the flight magazine, and you'll read something about, and you kind of, I'm making this up, and you kind of apple seed that is, you know, easy to grow and is pest resistant and whatever, right? Now, your creativity, you'd be like, that's interesting. Where I live, very similar, but there's a da-da-da-da-da. And then your brain is definitely going, oh, these apples, I wonder if that's what happens. You're curious, you find out about something, and then you're creative with the thing. And this is constantly. You may take action, you may not, but you're thinking about it, right? I sometimes think in Metal, we're like an Entrepreneurs Anonymous meeting.
Yeah. I still thinking is taking action. I mean, granted, you're not
right.
going
Oh, yeah,
for
no, you're right.
completion,
You're
but
right.
you flipped that switch. So if you guys are triggering enough curiosity and conversation to get people to think,
right, be creative,
I think is powerful by itself.
Absolutely. And creativity is, it's not just like sitting down with a paintbrush and painting something. It's about applying really creative solutions to things that don't appear to be sort of artistic. For instance, code. I can read computer code. Because I've been around that. I've got some patterns around things, and the best coders that I've met are really creative.
Oh yeah,
they're like.
I spent time in that space. On
you know what I mean?
But you meet I call them the super geeks.
Oh yeah.
I have a couple of friends I've known for 20 years. Like the one guy was kind of a coder, but he became more of a security engineer. And I'm like, what are you doing now? He goes, he's like, I can't really talk about it. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, picture a bank wanting to know if their technology is secure. I'm like, so are you saying you're a hacker? He goes, no, I'm a professional security consultant. And they hire me to break through their security and make it better.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
So you're a hacker, professionally,
So what's really interesting about that example is to be a consultant like he is, you have to think really creatively in terms of what will some Russian kid, some whatever kid be trying to do to be able to break into this system. And it's a sort of an intuitive concept rather than like breaking a code by doing 10,000 versions of the same thing. And the most brilliant coders I've come across are always able to kind of just intuitively just go, oh, it should be these 3 things. All right. So the third thing is, you talked about this before, is resilience. As an entrepreneur, you've got to know you're going to get knocked off the horse. What are you going to do? Get back on the horse. Right. Also, you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them. So there are times I
was waiting to hear that part. Yep.
There are times in the entrepreneurial journey when you're going to get back on a different horse, not the horse another one.
Yep.
Because, we were talking earlier about the can-do culture of Silicon Valley in particular, but it is generally accepted that not everything you do is going to be successful, and they are learning opportunities. And also in the entrepreneurial journey, a lot of it is timing. You could have the best idea at the wrong time and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
You see that again and again.
I think
so
most,
resilience.
quote, serial entrepreneurs, which I know
Right.
there's a bunch of them in your community, can definitely speak to that. Actually, there's one guy was listed on his profile in the video we played at the beginning of the show. Serial entrepreneurs, that's why they're serial. Not every single one of those have been successful. Now, if they've been lucky enough to have every single one timed perfectly, then they're also a genius. But
Right. Well, I've been through 8 startup cycles in my own life. And of the 8, I've lost my shirt twice.
Ouch.
I kind of was like, meh, maybe once or twice. I did pretty good twice. And then another one was like a really bad idea. I shouldn't have even started.
What was the genius lessons that you were able to take out of those lost my shirt moments, right? That's what we need to hear, right? It's like, dude, oh man, I lost my shirt here, but here's what I took into the next endeavor.
Yeah, some of it is super luck, and some of it is understanding that, you've heard people say before, you got to look where the puck is going, not where the puck is. But that requires a bit of judgment as to where you think the puck is going. Is it going here? Is it going here? And what shape it's going to be when it gets there? So there's often elements of success in the entrepreneurial journey that you just had to be in the right place at the right time with the right idea and the right team and the right funding, right? It's a little bit like a boat. If you've got a boat with 10 holes in it, you got to make sure that every single damn hole is plugged. You can have the right idea at the right time with the right funding and you're in the right group and but your marketing person's not right. Guess what's going to happen? Nothing.
I agree.
Right. So the fourth one is integrity. And integrity, as a successful man, you learn, by the time we hit our late 30s, early 40s, you realize that your word is your bond. And so if you're selling something to the public and it doesn't work as advertised, you'll sell and it's cheap and it's great. You'll probably get, you'll sell a ton of people once. But really, it's about ongoing relationships with your customers, with your clients. And
that's a big fundamental in my business. Everything I do. That's why I said duty, respect, integrity. It's tattooed on my ribs.
There it is.
Granted, it was reminded through firefighting. But then if I think far enough back, and my dad didn't always do everything right in his business, and it did eventually fail. But that is something, because you are a man of your word. If there's nothing else, you back that up in life, and it will serve you throughout the rest of your life. And that was a powerful lesson that all of them should hear. So
thank you. Yeah, we found the same thing. It's your word to yourself. It's your word to your brothers. It's your word to the people around you. It's important. And also, if you mess up, just be vulnerable and go, I really made a bad decision then. I'm really sorry the way that affected you. I'll do better next time. Sometimes when you mess up, there's nothing you could do about it because there was a fire, there was a flood, there's something happened that you had no control over, and you just got to come to terms with that.
Yeah, don't be somebody who's an example of making excuses.
Right.
If you can own it. But if it's outside of your control, still own it with the understanding that it was outside of your control.
Right.
What are we going to do differently? It's one thing I can't stand when people are like, oh, well, that's because of this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, but what are we going to do moving forward? I'm an action taker. Great. We can pass blame all we want, but how are we progressing beyond here?
Yeah. I've got I used to ride motorcycles a lot. And I remember meeting a cop who said, every time you get on a motorcycle in the LA traffic, you have a 1 in 600 chance of being in a fatal collision. Every time.
Oh yeah, LA's nuts, dude. I can't believe you're riding. I mean, I still have my license, but I rode in Arizona when I was out firefighting. I'm like, there's less traffic out there.
I don't ride anymore because of the 1 in 600. But this is actually a specific thing. This is about commuting to work you get in a sort of on a route that you're used to, and you start relaxing, which you can never do.
Complacency.
Right. So if you had an accident while you were riding, that's hopefully not you're not fatal. Every time you get back on the bike again, you've got to know those actually are the odds. Are you going to ride a different way? How are you going to manage that risk? And sometimes you just have to accept there is a risk and it's part of life, right? The fifth thing that we have in out of the 8 is brotherhood. Successful men need other successful men, and we come from a community in metal of heart-centeredness. So we're coming from a place, and by the way, metal is completely independent. We are not affiliated with any publishing, religious, political. We are an independent community, right? No one is
all walks of life.
And
that's
no
right,
one is
people.
paying
There's
us
no
to,
weird sponsored cult behind any of this.
No. It's Ken Rakowski's genius as a host. I'm his co-host at the events, and it's what we're all collectively interested in. And brotherhood can support you in lots of different ways. One of my closest friends that I've known in metal is a physician who is in his 80s. He's a really interesting man, and I would never have met him and become friends with him. Oh yeah, 3 days a week. His name is Dr. Robert Heller.
Respect.
And yeah, he's fantastic. He's just got a new girlfriend.
Still getting after it. I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He got divorced at 83 because he was sick of her shit up to here. At 83, I mean, gosh, he's an amazing man. But I met
83,
him.
you have a right to make your own decisions. I mean,
yeah. I met him through metal, and the wisdom that he has in life has been amazing to have him as a sort of an older brother in my life. He's not a father figure; he's like an older brother. Nice. And when you've got men who've seen all kinds of things in their lives in different spheres, it's incredibly powerful and useful to you. Personal and professional in all capacities.
Well, it's funny because that's why I found your group, and I found it interesting because I'd already put my book out, but there's a chapter on integrity. There's a chapter on complacency. There's a chapter on brotherhood because, well, serving as a firefighter, you're going to figure out that very, very quickly.
Very quickly.
And you're not going to love all your brothers all the time.
Yeah.
But in the end, when quote unquote shit hits the fan,
right, you
can depend on.
That's right. That's right. The 6th principle that we found, and remember, all these principles came out of data. This is research-based findings here. This isn't like some marketing exercise. Absolutely, yeah. Is financial literacy. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a crazy whiz on the stock market. You have to be able to understand insanely complex spreadsheets. No, this is about the foundation of making money, keeping money, and growing money. This is about understanding that money is energy, value for services, for goods, understanding how energy and how money works. And it's surprising how many guys, successful guys, were just lucky, right? Just damn lucky, right? And once you become conscious of, what's inevitable, death and taxes, right? Right. You can,
and not to be depressing, but it's true. I mean, it's pretty solid guarantees. So
you must have met guys like this who have done incredibly well. They were in the right time in the right place, and they were just really lucky. And now they're trying to tell you stuff.
What you just said though was the keeping it. I've never had a problem making money. I sucked at keeping it because I didn't respect the knowledge behind money. So everything you're just saying right now, and that was something coming into your group that I think deep down, I didn't realize I was looking for too, because I married into a family that did have their act together and my family did not. Right. And I used to blame that. I'm like, that's not fair.
Right.
No one taught my family education and literacy in finance, right?
Right.
Just living paycheck to paycheck or just your business barely surviving. No, that's literacy, as you just said. And as Mr. Type A personality, adrenaline junkie, I've done all these crazy things. It means nothing if I can't hold on to these successes that I've been able to achieve. So that's out of that whole financial component. That was my biggest weakness. And I'm pretty much dug out of it, but it's like, wow, I was lacking and nobody was teaching it to me. I had to hunt it out. And if I would have found your group years ago, I probably could have accelerated that timeline exponentially. Right. So
we have experts in our community. There's a guy called Jeff Gurman who is an expert on exactly this. He's a tax planner guy, and he does a brilliant It's a fascinating internal show, which is about tax and keeping cash and investing the right way. And it's really interesting. In my own case, I got divorced really brutally a few years ago and ended up really like down to a couple of $100 at the time. And I was like,
that's aggressive. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Long story. I was like, oh, my goodness me. And so 2 years later, I was back on my feet again. You know, it took a bit of doing.
Because you knew what to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. I knew what to do. And people are like, how'd you do that? I'm like, no, you just got to understand how it works. Right. You know?
Yeah. It's easy.
Anyway.
What's the one quote I heard? It's actually easy to make money. The strategy and the longevity is learning to keep it and grow it.
Yeah, 100%. And then developing passive, and there's, you know.
And look at what most stressors in a man, I can speak to this. Most of my stress was always centered around that. It manifested into me not wanting to be in relationships, like everything. It almost prevented me from getting married because I was afraid of opening myself up into that world, showing the vulnerability, everything we talked about today, right? Admitting that I had made mistakes. Yeah. It was a big growth opportunity for me because I waited this long. I've only been married for 5.5 years. I waited to my 40s to finally get into that whole love thing because I wanted nothing to do with it. I was a stag for a long time.
They get you in the end, brother.
They do.
They get you in the end. A good one does.
A good one.
So the next one is number 7 is development. And what I mean by that is career development, personal development, knowing that you've always got to be growing. There's always, you know, there's, as we were saying earlier, there's lessons from entrepreneurial pursuits that didn't work out. There's lessons from dating and marrying the wrong woman a couple of times, which I'm guilty of. There's, you know, you need to have a mentor or a coach. You know, mentors are like free. You know, it's like someone who can give you some advice, but you're not paying out cash to see them every week. Coaches are critical. We have some
professional
wonderful.
Coach, yes.
Oh yeah, professional coach. Yeah.
Yeah, and every good coach has a coach. I learned that over the years too. If you can't tell me that you also have somebody guiding you at a much higher level, I don't trust you. It took me 10 years to learn that. It's like, no. Because you eventually outgrow your coach. You can. You know.
Absolutely, yes. We have a handful of absolute world-class coaches. I mentioned Terry Tillman. He's an exec coach. Dr. Jeff Spencer, who is, he has a client list. He was an Olympic cyclist back in the day.
Nice.
And he's done all kinds of, his clients include a big list of you name it. We've got someone who I'm very fond of. His name is Craig Filek. And this is sort of related to this. He's an expert in purpose mapping. So as a man, if you don't have a purpose, you will not be happy. That is not a generalization. It is a fact, right? Very few things you can like go, this is a fact. And I can say, if you're a man and you don't have a purpose, now your purpose could be, I want to marry a pretty girl, have some kids, and take it easy. That's okay, right?
Yeah,
nothing wrong with
me.
that. No kids with me.
But no, that's a very, very good point. I'm glad we're hitting those pause on that because you listen to most generational shifts. That has not died down. If anything, it's amplified. You look at career-driven millennials, career-driven, even the Z-Gen, they want from the get-go. What is the purpose of what I'm doing? Right?
Purpose.
More vocal now than I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
Whereas, okay, my prior generations, it was there, but they didn't really vocalize it. You know, that's why a lot of people went into the military 1-2 generations ago because it gave them purpose. You know,
Absolutely, it does.
Country. Yeah,
It gives you structure and purpose. We have Craig Filek has one of our expert sessions, and it's all about purpose mapping. And he has an amazing 2-hour process that new guys often you can come into. It's part of the process, and he asks you questions. You're like, what? What do you mean? And at the end of it, you'll have a real map as to what your purpose is.
I love that.
The last one, the 8th principle, is an obvious one when you think about it. It's work-life balance.
Oh, that's a very touchy subject these days. Because depending on the expert you're talking to, people say it's not possible. People say it is possible. People don't care one way or the other. It's you know.
The bottom line is
it's not realistic, right?
There's the entrepreneurial journey, or maybe you're working, you got your dream job, and now all of a sudden your responsibilities are insane. If you're being paid really well, you're going to be married to that job. That's the main thing you do, right? Someone's paying you $500,000 a year for something. Guess what? Your Sunday morning's taken, right? Yeah. So what we have seen again and again is there are times when you have to lean into 100 hours a week. Absolutely. You have to do that. 100 hours a week. We got you. Now, what's important is to know that if you keep doing that, you'll burn out. And when you burn out, guess what's going to happen? Your productivity, your judgment calls, your responsibilities are just like, it's like you're driving with the e-brake on. Do not do that. So it is critical for your health and your general quality of life that you keep a handle. You just keep an eye on this work-life balance. And we live in an insane moment of accelerated change. So as men now, I guarantee this is the same as you. On the one hand, our professional life, our online world, our screen time is an increasing rate of change. You've got to keep a handle on AI. Right? It's faster than it ever was. And at the same time, your non-screen time, your real life time, you have to put the phone down. We have to go out for a coffee, go out for a hike, slow down, smell the roses, tip your foot in the ocean, be still, hang out with the people you love, your parents. They're getting older, right? So we have this absolute constant work-life balance stretch where you have to go faster and faster. I've got one foot on the platform and a moving train, and then I need to just stop, ride my bicycle, leave your damn cell phone at home. I'm a classic car guy, and I have a hot rod Jeep, one of my favorite vehicles. It's bonkers. It's a 1952 with a big block Chevy, with a small block Chevy 350. It's the most insane thing. It's one of the most dangerous big. It's a CJ2A actually. Yeah.
I'm a Jeep guy. There's
there you go. Oh, okay. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
My first Jeep was a 1985 CJ7. So,
boom. This is a 1952 hot rod Jeep with it's ridiculous. It's one of the most dangerous things you've ever driven in your life. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Your calf muscles probably like jacked up because there's no hydraulics.
No. It's dangerous. So 400 horsepower in a 2,000 pound go-kart. But the point of the story is what I do now is I take my phone and I leave it at home. I live here in Culver City. I'm about 7 miles away from the ocean.
But Will, what if you have an emergency?
So what? I'll ask someone. I have to make sure I can remember my wife's cell phone number.
I have that memorized.
Right. Yeah, me too. And then it is the strangest thing. People go, I was trying to reach you. I'm like, I not only had my phone off, dude, I didn't have it with me. Yeah. And the strangest thing happens. I go for a coffee and I have to kind of chill out and look at the people. I get to the beach.
It's great.
Yeah, well, in Venice here in Los Angeles, some very strange sights to see of all kinds, as you know.
But more reason to unplug so you can enjoy those strange sights or be concerned with the strange sights.
The point for me is that when I actively do that, it really recharges my work and my creativity later on, because I've kind of put my brain in a place where I can't just check my email. I can't just take a call. I can't just look something up. I'm like, nope. I'm just being here. So the work-life balance is a proxy for health and wellness, and
big part of the show,
right? Yeah, that's part of the reason we want to.
We feel your health, business, and lifestyle. Health comes first. You still need the business in the middle, but the whole point here is: aren't we trying to all improve our lifestyle along the way?
Every time, yeah.
And well, I love that because I dual majored in psychology. I paid my way.
Oh, really?
After during the corporate life and at the end of the corporate life before firefighting, I went back to school on nights and weekends because I didn't have enough to do, and tested my work-life balance. But I ended up dual majoring in psychology because that I ended up falling in love with, realizing that I should not have gone to school for business and marketing. I'm going to learn that in the real world. So if I went back in time, I'd smack myself a little bit. But I actually don't deny the fact that the university totally makes sense when you're studying upper level education, like being a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or psychology. And the more integration that I hear, as you just hinted, like multiple principles of masculine intelligence of that book that you're talking about right
Yeah.
now, that's a lot of psychology.
Chris Voss is one of the 8 superstar metal men that we interviewed in depth for this book. And Chris, he was an FBI negotiator, and his stories are phenomenal. Just an extraordinary, I mean, it's worthwhile getting the metal book, the masculine intelligence book, just to read about, just to hear his, there's an audio version too, by the way, and you can hear Chris's voice in that kind of New York way. But he's a study of human character, of psychology. And so psychology and the way that we are as humans, never split the difference. Well, what does that mean? You know, and so a lot of very successful entrepreneurs are also either active like you know, you've got degrees in psychology, or they are very keen observers of what humans do, right?
Yeah, I'm a geek about mindset development. That's why earlier you mentioned personal and professional development.
Right.
That's probably at least a fifth of this entire show's history of people I brought on this show.
Right.
Because it's helped me get to where I am at. And a lot of that is psychology. But you don't have to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist to come on and talk about it. You could be an author, an entrepreneur, right? Everybody's got experience. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have a I've mentioned the expert sessions on the Metal Network, and we have a unique 3 times a week session called the Foundry, which is a group work process that works really well with men. And it's about what's top of mind. What can you talk about in a confidential space? And there's a very interesting thing, you know, it could be like, right? It could be, I'm down, you know, something terrible has happened. But there's a really interesting thing when you're around other really successful men who are goal driven. If you've just written a best-selling, #1 selling book, or if you've just exited a company that you've been working on as a goal for many years, or in my case, you know, you've written some really big hit songs. And the weird thing is, within 2 or 3 weeks of that happening, you will likely hit a very deep, dark depression. It's the weirdest thing. We've noticed it again and again.
I suffered after leaving firefighting, actually.
Oh, there you go.
It was actually, that's why there's a chapter in the book called Getting Vulnerable, because my walls, whatever walls I already had, just got amplified because you're living with 20 dudes in the mountains, trying to be a tough guy all the time, fighting wildfire for 16 hours a day, 2 weeks straight, no showers, no days off. And you do this all summer long. And I did that for a couple of years. And luckily I was older. They called me the old guy because I was in my 30s. But my brain was like, I'm capable of doing more with my life, not to downplay the people who serve us in public service. But I was like, okay, I know too much about health. I know I'm destroying my lungs. I know I'm probably taking all kinds of toxins, whatever, and then all the other things. But even though I made the decision not to continue on, that sucked. And I did not, when I tried coming back to the East Coast after living in Colorado, afterwards Arizona, I felt like I failed. And it's like, what do you mean, Scott? Like, you paid your way through school. You did well in the corporate space. You went and took one of the hardest jobs in the world. But I was in my own way. I was holding myself back. If I was in a trusted space with fellow men, like, it took me probably a good year to work through that. I could have worked through it a hell of a lot faster.
Yeah, in the Foundry, I run one of the 3 Foundry sessions myself. I run it. I facilitate it every Tuesday night, and I've heard similar versions of your exact story many times, with the outcome of just like, now what? Right. And I think part of the reason why super successful men find this sort of it's what happens is, for years, let's say you are let's say that you're a filmmaker, and you've spent years making a film, and finally it's a bestseller, and now it's the Netflix #1, right? You've spent your entire 10 years process sometimes just aiming towards that goal, and now it's happened. And now all of a sudden you're rudderless. You're like, now what? I'm on top of Everest. What now?
Take a break.
But even
we're not good at taking a break.
There you go. You can
because
take a break.
We're all charged up. We're successful.
Right.
I got to move on.
Where are we going?
Thing,
That's
right?
it. What are we going to do? Yeah. How does, and it is the most disconcerting situation. Before I was in metal in the 90s, when I'd had the success as the writer in, as the main writer in the band Londonbeat, this exact same thing happened. I got the BMI PRS Writer of the Year with the guys in 91. And then I just remember, 6 weeks later going, now what?
Yeah.
Whoa.
That now what? Because this is the first podcast people are listening to right now, hearing that. I hear that because I'm still a voracious podcast consumer because I'm traveling all the time. So audiobooks and podcasts, because I'm one of those supporters. You cannot stop learning and growing and consuming content. But that now what? Especially the past 3 to 5 years, I think COVID really shook up a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Got them to question their career, their purpose, right? Things were like, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my career? What am I doing with my family? I thought I was successful. Maybe I'm not. That now what is coming up more and more than I think I've ever heard of.
And the answer to that is actually brotherhood and community. Yeah. It's about connecting with guys who've been very successful or are on the way to being very successful, who can then lean in and just be with you because they're in the same place. And choosing conscious brotherhood is different than just meeting guys when you're out in the world, right? If you've got kids, you meet the friends, you meet your kids' friends, fathers, and what have you got in common? Likely not very much, but you've got your kids in common. And so you end up in this kind of hinterland of having these male relationships around you. You don't really have anything in common. And you couldn't really say, well, I'm in a really dark depression because my dream came true 6 weeks ago.
Well, give me your perspective on this, Will. By the way, are you still good on time? Because we are over our slot. I'm fine.
I'm good if you are, my brother. Okay. Yes.
Because this is good. I'm loving it. How do I say this not to sound like a douche? My wife thinks it's hilarious. Every time I meet another girlfriend's husband or whatever, everybody wants to be friends with me. I'm not trying to sound like I'm Mr. Popular because I'm not. Like, she actually, and then the other day she goes, by the way, you need to make some new friends. I was like, why? I'm totally, completely happy. And I can go out to my man's own barn that I've been slowly building. I built my own gym out there. I'm going to build another studio out there. Yeah, it's like my escape. I was like, I'm going to go out and build something, like you said, unplug, right?
Right.
I have 3 acres here. Past 3 years since we bought this property, I built my own trail because for years as a mountain biker, I would go out and volunteer and build trails for the community. And I'm like, you know what? I got all these woods that no one's ever cared for. I'm a former wildland firefighter. I'm like, I'm going to build my own trail system.
Fantastic.
The neighbors' kids get to come play on it. I don't care. Like, I don't have kids. So I find purpose and meaning in everything, and I don't slow down. So I'm guilty of that, knowing when to say, enough is enough and take those breaks. That's why we went heli skiing last week. So I'm all recharged and ready to go. And I leave tomorrow for a 3-day business trip. So I'll be back on the horse. But where I'm going with this is just because I have no problem attracting manly connections, it doesn't mean I'm looking for them.
Right.
But back to your point, I'm definitely somebody, that's why I came to your community 1.5 years ago. And I haven't forgotten about you guys because it's like, maybe that's my struggle, is that I'm non-committal on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Chris, it's like, I have enough friends when they're ready to connect and hang out. It's like I was telling you before we started the show. I just aired the 3rd episode a couple weeks ago. I created, and to honor you and Ken, it's actually inspired by you guys, but a lot different.
Okay. Oh, great.
I have the Man Zone Barn. I'm calling it Fuel Up Headquarters, whatever. There's many names for it. Anyway, the last owner had built a 30 by 35 foot 2-story metal pole barn, but never finished it off. He just threw snowmobiles in there and his truck. So I was like, well, I used to coach CrossFit. I used to train people. My free time I learned from firefighting. I'm like, I'm going to put my gym in truck bay 1, and maybe I'll jack up a Jeep or something, throw it in bay 2. I don't know. So it's never ending adventure. I put it all over Instagram for fun, YouTube, whatever, outside my personal feeds outside of Live the Fuel. So then I was like, after I came out of your community, I was like, there are men struggling for community and focus. And I love connecting entrepreneurs. How do I create something here locally? I called up a few people I've had on the podcast, entrepreneurs that I've helped here locally that are friends of mine, trusted people. One guy I put on the board of my charity. He goes, dude, just do what you do. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're always posting pictures of steaks and stuff online. He goes, why don't you just host a guys' night out in the barn?
Yeah. Perfect.
And he goes, I was like, really? He goes, yeah, dude.
That's it.
He's like, I'll come.
Easy.
He goes, you're going to grill a steak and then we're just going to hang out? And I was like, yeah. And these are all, by the way, almost everybody who's come over has been dads. So like, it's no shortage of, no one's ever really declined unless they're off at a public speaking engagement or traveling or whatever. So the point is like, so I've done 3 of these and it's either, and my wife just got me a smoker for Christmas. So now I have a private email list. I'm like, hey guys, the next Meta Mindset, I'm calling it Meta Mindset because guys, we're going to get together. If you don't drink, you don't drink, whatever. There's no requirements. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk like successful men, but in a relaxed way, share some struggles. I'm going to grill or cook some amazing steaks or whatever your pastime is. And then at the end, I have microphones set up and I bought a lot more hardware, probably not at your level, but I have 6 mic stands now. So, cause the one event we had six entrepreneurs and speakers there. We just hung out and we discussed manly things. So I have a tiny little version of what you're doing.
Well,
I think, I don't know.
You are describing something that we have called a metal pod. And
what?
A pod.
A pod.
Like a pod.
Okay.
A pod, yeah. And so a metal pod is between 6 and 12, 15 guys.
Okay.
The guys get together on a regular basis locally. This is something we used to do pre-COVID, and we've just started reintroducing it. First one is in Boulder, in Colorado.
I used to live in just south of Boulder in
there you go,
in Golden. I was right there.
Yeah.
It's around the lake up there.
Yeah. We have a handful of guys in that area get together here in LA. There's about 4 different pods. There's the West Side, Santa Monica region.
There go the hikes and stuff.
Yeah. And so getting together with other guys that there's no judgment because we get to know each other. I mean, if you and I were local, I'm sure, we'd be in each other's lives a lot more. Yeah, absolutely.
So, because you would get that.
So, yeah. And being with other guys in that environment, I mean, men have been in the cave, literally, for millennia, And as I said earlier, we are better men in the rest of the world. We're better husbands, brothers, for being in the cave. Here's another thing for you. We have found last year, we did a bit of a survey on where are you guys coming from? 20% of our members came from a recommendation from their wives or girlfriends. What? And it turned out that metal guys' wives or girlfriends were recommending us to their girls, to their girlfriends, and then they were telling their guys, "You got to be a member of this group."
Was already in the community,
and so women really appreciate the value we bring to their guys' lives. We're not the guys that go on a trip to strip clubs in Vegas. That's not what this is all about. That's not our world.
I've been there, done that, and I'm like, I'm good. That's not who I am deep down.
Yeah,
maybe I've
me and you both. Yeah, maybe there's a bit of that. Yeah,
but you're right. It's and that's my point. It's funny because I told her, I was like, hey, when I'm ready to do a big get together, I'll just do my Meta Mindset thing. I was like, don't worry, babe, we'll be out in the barn. I mean, it's still being, I'm doing my own remodeling, so it takes time. I still don't have full blown heating yet. So if we're doing a get together in the winter, I'm like, listen, I'm going to run some space heaters, but you may want to bring a jacket. The system I need to put in is going to be thousands of dollars, just baby steps. I'm finishing off the walls myself. I'm insulating it. I've only brought in one contractor just to help with electrical. I've done everything else myself, and because it's fun.
Well, that's a good size barn.
Yeah. I could easily fit 15 guys in there. That's not a problem. So, but the point is that the one guy, he was just there. He's a good buddy of mine. The guy I put on my charity, he goes, Scott, he texts me after every one. He goes, thank you again. I'm like, why? He goes, he's like, I have tons of guys. He's like, friends, whatever, uncles, cousins, whatever. He goes, business associates. They either want to talk about football or the bar. Or they want to, he's like, or, fatherhood. He goes, I've got that covered. He's like, he's like, until you started this, he goes, I never had a place to go. And he's been on the podcast multiple times. So he and I become really good friends now. He goes, he's like, when I came on your podcast, it's like that times 10, because I can actually have deep thought and growth oriented conversations with no judgment. And you're free, and you're, like you said, in that you can let your veil down. You can get vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because that's something I remind the guys before we start the night. I'm like, guys, you're here to be in a trusted circle and be vulnerable. And when the microphones go hot at the end of the night, if you don't want to talk about it, that's cool too. I'm trying to like soften the guys up earlier in the evening, let them feel relaxed, make them feel welcome.
Sure.
And then if they want to talk about that stuff on the microphone, they can. If not, they can just hang out and make jokes and have fun.
Right.
Whatever works for you.
Well, good for you, Scott. That is very much, it's something that is very much needed. But
why? We had a whole show on this, but it's like, is it just that it's just who we are, like deep down genetically or hormonally? It's just like, we struggle to find personal development. We struggle to commit to professional development. We struggle to get vulnerable and get real.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you've just really put your finger on the ethos of why metal even exists. And it, Ken started this back in the early 2000s because he wanted to get guys together that have a similar outlook, because being a successful guy at anything in any Western nation, right, it has the same set of challenges. And so, you've got career versus family versus kids versus health, but these are the things we all have in common. And I will tell you, we've got guys in the metal community from all parts of life, all backgrounds, all, heritages, and we all have exactly the same challenges. Yeah. We all have problems with our kids. Their wife doesn't, appreciate you.
Romance.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when you're in a community of guys, then you can talk about this with other guys that you're not beholden to in any kind of capacity. They're just friends. It is like, just talking about it helps, right?
Yeah, because
in a vulnerable way,
the vulnerability is a big masculine trait of challenge. I'm the first one to admit it. That's why I put it in my book, because like my wife was frustrated because she goes, why did you put me in your book? I was like, because you're part of my transformation.
Right.
Like you dumped me after 1 year of dating and then gave me a shot because I was willing to get vulnerable, because that was that final trigger to finally crack my armor and help me realize, like, Scott, this is not just hurting you romantically. It's hurting you professionally. You're not reconnecting and plugging back in to the world at your peak performance level. Like I was struggling, that first year and a half after firefighting, after coming back to the East Coast. So it's, now granted, that's not going to happen to everybody. You can't always guarantee somebody dumping you or ending something because you're being a jackass to break through your vulnerability. That's why it's like, that's why I'm excited for stuff what you guys have done, because it shouldn't get that bad. You should find a supportive community so it doesn't get that bad. Or if it does get that bad, you can heal from that with a supportive community.
Yeah, you've just sort of brought up something for me, which is sort of intrinsic as well in what we do. And that is depression and addiction lead to suicide a lot. And suicide in men here in the US and worldwide is at an all-time high. And suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And in fact, I have a tattoo here on my wrist. You can see it right here, which is a semicolon tattoo. And that means that there's more to come at the end of the day. It means this is not the end of there's no period at the end of today. This means there's more to come. And so by being together with other guys that you have similar outlooks on, we really help with men's depression. We really help with the hard stuff, the stuff that you're never usually able to talk about. So here at Metal, we're very conscious of how being together in a men's group really helps your mental health.
I would agree with that. Because for the longest time, we always just news, whatever, press, Reddit, whatever platform you're on, Twitter, they always tied a lot of male depression to military, which is definitely true.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
PTSD, all of it's real. But you're right. When I can remember somebody ending a relationship in my corporate days, I was that messed me up a little bit. But I realized I was younger. I was in my late 20s. I just didn't have enough what I have today going on back then. I needed other purposes. I wasn't racing mountain bikes and I wasn't heavily into my health and fitness, right? So I don't get rocked anymore like I did back then because my mindset's more fortified. My stress levels can be reduced because of my commitment to health and fitness and releasing cortisol level, releasing stress, all these fundamentals. But also I've now learned approaching 50 that, oh, wow, Scott, you've actually, most people tell me too, like, dude, you've had a lot of different chapters in your life. You've had a lot of different career choices. I was like, yeah, I got good at taking risks and trying something different, or sometimes working 2-3 career choices at the same time. So I wore many hats. But what I realized was I was just building up that fortitude and that trust in myself, saying, okay, great, that didn't work out. Let's try this. And that's what I think you're right, is definitely attributing to a lot of people. When they get hit too hard and too fast, they don't know how to bounce out of it because they haven't done it enough yet, especially our younger generation. Because you're right, those stats, I'm seeing a major spike, Gen Z and millennial. And
I know.
If any of you guys are listening to this, like, it gets better. Okay. And maybe METAL.MEN is your answer because it gets better. Like,
it does get better.
Yeah.
I think I can sum up what you're talking about in terms of sort of a personal development frame, which is you seem to be a perfect example of a guy who knows himself more now. And when you were a kid, you didn't know yourself then, and there are lessons that you go through to know yourself better. And the secret to happiness in your late 40s, early 50s and onwards is knowing yourself, and it's finding your purpose and understanding where your weaknesses are, right? Impulse control. If you come from a family where you have addiction in the family, just be aware that that may well be integrated into your DNA, and in a way that you could fall off that wagon pretty quick. Just be conscious that that is a thing. Know yourself.
I've been transparent about that. I have depression in my family.
Okay.
Yeah. My sister lives with her whole life, dual personality, heavy depression.
There you go.
So, and then I found out years later that my mom had a short stint. And I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? Because we've now proven through epigenetics, we can accidentally misprogram things and pass it on without us even realizing it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that's tragic too. So
a really good thing if you have depression that I have observed many times is get a dog.
We have a dog.
Get a dog on top of everything else. Try all the work out and get a dog. Yeah.
I will say I got friends who love their cats. Yes, the cats can be loving too. If you like that standoffish love, you know,
it's not the same thing.
I'm a dog guy. My wife's a dog girl.
Me too. We're
hardcore dogs. Yeah, we literally have a. Actually, our last couple dogs were rescues. So this one is our first like purebred Vizsla.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
the
Hungarian hunting dogs. Yeah. Their nickname is the Velcro dog. Believe me, I tried coming down here to hang with you, and she was all over me. She knew I was going to leave. I was like Riva. I was like, her name is Riva, named after the ski run in the Italian Alps. Also in Vail, Colorado, we're skiers. I was like, Riva, I'll be back. I was like, just it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
My studio office here is on, I have a fairly decent sized yard. And so I leave the house, I walk about 15 yards to my office. And whenever I go back in the house again, my dog's like, dude, you're back.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was gone like 30 minutes. She's like, where you been? Oh my God.
Yeah. That's
that is, it's wonderful. To just have that unconditional love. Yeah. And
more with the one that they imprinted on. My wife gets more of the love than I get the love because I'm the one who travels all the time. So she imprinted more on my wife because she gets to ride to all the horse farms with her, doing her doctor duties and stuff. So they were naturally going to connect more. But
of course,
I still get a little bit. But again, it is nice. It is.
Yeah.
It's calming. You feel loved. There is something to having a pet. Absolutely. So even if you're not a dog person. So
the thing about dogs in particular is that they are presence machines. Dog doesn't care at all what you're going through. Their goal is to hang out with you and to sit and look at you and connect for a second or a minute or an hour, as long as you connect. And that
And the smarter breeds know when something's wrong.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. They're even more like, our last dog was an English red tick coonhound. And I had collapsed the lung right before our heli skiing wedding, and my wife was worried, and and we had just saved him from cancer. We had to amputate his legs, so he was a tripod 3-legger.
Oh boy.
So we got the hospital to clear him to come in, and he never did it. He goes 3 legs, boom, jumps on the hospital bed, lays completely on top of me, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, what in the world? And the nurses come in, and he just looked at them like, back off. And I was like, oh my God, because it was her dog first. I was like, oh my God, Calvin does love me, because he was in like immediate healing protection mode. And this guy's beating cancer with 3 legs, surviving an amputation. He's like, no, I got you, Dad. It's like, it's so wonderful. Yeah. I should do a survey in the community. I wonder how many METAL.MEN dudes have pets, or specifically dogs.
That's a really good question. I am going to ask a question on Saturday this week. And what do I have to do to get you behind a wheel this week, Scott, to get you back in the community? Can I close?
I'm overdue to come back. I got to come on back. I know. It's been nuts.
I'm going to send you an invite.
Yes, absolutely. Because like I said, I haven't forgotten about you guys. And then it's like boom, boom, boom. And that's why I'm glad we're talking, because I was like, dude, I haven't thought about that. And then, because I'm already booking another trip to Vail, Colorado in March. So my wife wants to go visit her parents. I was like, we're back skiing again. I can't use skiing as an excuse. So, yeah. And I'm excited to see what they're going on with the book too. And so, did you release the Audible version public, or are you keeping everything behind the scenes?
Everything is behind the scenes at the moment, consciously.
Okay.
The audio, when you get the book, you get access to both the ebook and the audiobook. The audiobook is really interesting. You hear Nolan Bushnell pontificating brilliantly about
awesome.
How he,
because when I travel, I can't
started.
stand the airplane TVs. My wife, she plugs in. I'm like, no. I either read a book physically, or I download the audio book, and then I don't care how long the flight is. It was a 6-hour flight to Vancouver last week. I was like, I crushed like 2 books. It was great because I speed up the speed.
Oh boy.
So we definitely need to reconnect. I've been overdue to reconnect with you guys, because actually I was just finding an old email. I have to follow up with this guy. Actually, I forgot about him. Is he still in your community? Do you know Larry Stambaugh?
Yes. Absolutely.
Stambaugh.
Yeah.
I just found his old email from July 2023. He was working on a project to impact wildland firefighting.
Yep.
Yeah. I gotta see if he's still working on this. So
he may well be. He's a really interesting guy. He's an older fella, has had a career he's been CEO of all kinds of blue chip and all kinds of businesses over the years. And he's a really good example. He must be in his 70s. I think he's in our over 70s club. And his wisdom, he's a smiling guy, and he has seen shit hit the fan a bunch of times, and he's fearless. He's a really interesting fella.
I enjoyed connecting with him. I think I found him in one of he and I briefly had chatted in one of the breakouts, and then I forget, I think he had direct messaging capability, right? And I think he direct messaged me, and I'm like, I'm happy to connect. And then I had somebody else on the show. I literally had him on as a guest co-host. I know I aired him about a year and a half ago. So I definitely have connected with a few people since being in there. So
we have our own app. It's called Connect, which is for members only. And through the app, you have everybody's hookup details,
that's right. Because
everybody's contact information.
You have surface level access, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Which was still helpful, because then you could see that you guys had put a lot of work into the infrastructure. But it's like a tease. It's like, well, we're not going to give you everything. I mean, it takes a little money to pay for all that stuff. So
it does. Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. I'm glad we're going to reconnect. We are over the time slot. I want to respect your schedule as well.
Back at you.
So if you remember earlier in the show, I hinted about legacy. And so when I bring, and I'll give you a proper goodbye off the air. When I bring on my guest co-host years ago, I used to say, hey man, what are some final words you want to leave behind for the audience in case they forget everything else we talked about? And then through my own personal and professional growth, it's been podcasting since 2016. I realized now, man, like launching my charity, because now I buy, actually you can see those are my original wildland firefighting boots back there from 2009 and
right.
2010.
Wow.
Well, people don't realize we had to buy those ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So I've in the past 3 months, I've now paid for 12 pairs of wildland firefighting boots through my charity that I launched with my book. And some of them are CAL FIRE guys that have served on the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire. So I've been able to directly impact people serving.
Wow.
And so this is part of my legacy. So it's like, okay, so everything you're doing now with metal, obviously you got a new way to pass on some legacy through knowledge through the Masculine Intelligence book. But is there something all encompassing from your career that you can sum up today and say, you know what? Yeah, this is something I'm realizing with everything you're doing now beyond metal that you want to, I don't know, leave behind. So
yeah, there is. I've been thinking about this recently, which is what is a common thread in the professionals? You know, I've had 8 different companies, I've had multiple different careers, but what is the common thread? And the thread is communication and community. As a musician, you're a communicator. You're speaking an international language of music, right? So yes, as a musician, I'm a communicator. The Rocket Network collaboration system was a way to be able to create a professional audio and video at remote distances using a server system that synced everything up. Communication again. And metal, of course, we're a community. We're all about communication, and we're all about the value. The most precious thing in our lives as men in particular is community, family, community, and the love of other brothers who you would not normally connect with because they're in very different worlds professionally. And so I'll just leave you with this. In 2018, I had a widowmaker heart attack, 100% blockage, dropped dead on a Monday night at home. I had no idea I was at risk. I was. Later on, I discovered absolutely I was. I wasn't eating properly, stress, and a few other things, very high cholesterol. In the next 6 weeks, 150 metal men came to see me, made the effort to come either to the hospital. I was in hospital for 10 days, woke up, I have stents, and my now wife, but then girlfriend, saved my life with CPR. 150 metal guys came to see me.
Wow.
They made the journey, and it was the most important thing that's ever happened in my life in terms of showing you the value of friendship. Guys flew in from all over the place and they came to see me, and I was like, wow. And I'm not unusual, by the way. If something happens to a metal man, I just yesterday got back from a funeral. We have a guy called Artist Jabu, who was a much loved member of metal for 13 years, and he passed away last week. So a group of us went up to his funeral over the weekend. And so brotherhood, it's important.
Well said. I love that. Listen, hang tight. Let me grab it off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, Will Henshall. You just went there. I mean, we closed out on brotherhood. I couldn't have asked for a better note to close out on that. Again, you're the regular listeners, you know I've talked heavily about this. Again, that's why I put it in my own book. METAL.MEN, clearly, that's a big component. All right. So if you guys haven't figured that out by now, it's really that simple. It's not .com. It's METAL.MEN. Enter in your browser. Boom. Again, it's going to be linked in the show notes. So as a reminder to all the regular listeners and the new listeners out there, remember, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Will helped us do that today. And remember, you too can live the fuel. And we'll talk to you guys again soon.